Solar storms, a harbinger of things to come. The sun, our life-giving star, is not always as benevolent as it seems. Beneath its calm, radiant surface lies a cauldron of nuclear fire, capable of unleashing tremendous bursts of energy in the form of solar storms. These storms, though invisible to the human eye, can have profound effects on our technological world, disrupting communications, crippling power grids, and even endangering the lives of astronauts in space. In recent times, we have witnessed an increase in solar activity, a prelude to the impending solar maximum predicted for 2025. This period of heightened solar activity is expected to bring with it a surge in the frequency and intensity of solar storms, potentially exceeding the severity of the infamous Carrington Event of 1859. The Carrington Event, named after the British astronomer Richard Carrington, who witnessed the solar flare that triggered it, remains the most powerful solar storm ever recorded. It caused widespread disruption of telegraph systems, with reports of operators receiving electric shocks and telegraph paper bursting into flames. Auroras, normally confined to high latitudes, were observed as far south as Cuba and Hawaii. The event served as a stark reminder of the sun's raw power and its potential to wreak havoc on our increasingly technology-dependent world. Today, our reliance on technology dwarfs that of the 19th century. A solar storm of the magnitude of the Carrington Event in the 21st century could have catastrophic consequences, disrupting global communications, crippling financial systems, and plunging entire cities into darkness. As we stand on the cusp of this period of intensified solar activity, it is crucial to understand the nature of solar storms, their potential impacts, and the steps we can take to mitigate the risks they pose. The sun, our constant companion, is a force to be reckoned with, a celestial powerhouse capable of both nurturing life and unleashing chaos. By understanding its rhythms and preparing for its fury, we can hope to weather the solar storms that lie ahead and safeguard our technological civilization from the sun's wrath. The sun's rhythmic dance. Understanding solar cycles. The sun, like a celestial metronome, beats to a rhythm, its activity waxing and waning in a cycle that averages about 11 years. This rhythmic dance, known as the solar cycle, governs the ebb and flow of solar storms, dictating the frequency and intensity of these energetic outbursts. At the heart of this cycle lies the sun's magnetic field, a complex and ever-changing force that drives the sun's activity. During periods of low solar activity, known as solar minimum, the sun's magnetic field is relatively calm and ordered. Sunspots, dark blemishes on the sun's surface that mark regions of intense magnetic activity, are few and far between. Coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, massive bursts of plasma and magnetic field from the sun's corona, are less frequent and less energetic. The sun during these times appears relatively quiescent, a gentle giant slumbering in the vastness of space. As the solar cycle progresses, the sun's magnetic field becomes increasingly turbulent and complex. Sunspots proliferate across the sun's surface, their numbers and size growing as the sun's magnetic field twists and turns, contorting itself into intricate knots. CMEs become more frequent and more energetic, hurling billions of tons of solar material into space at speeds of millions of kilometers per hour. The sun, during these times, is a seething cauldron of activity, its energy reaching a crescendo at the peak of the solar cycle known as solar maximum. Understanding the solar cycle is key to predicting and preparing for periods of heightened solar activity. By monitoring the sun's magnetic field, tracking the number and size of sunspots, and observing the frequency and intensity of CMEs, scientists can anticipate the timing and severity of solar storms. This knowledge allows us to take steps to mitigate the potential impacts of these storms, safeguarding our technological infrastructure and ensuring the safety of astronauts in space. Solar maximum. When the sun rages. Solar maximum, the peak of the sun's 11-year activity cycle, is a time of intense solar fury. Like a raging inferno, the sun unleashes a barrage of energy in the form of solar flares and coronal mass ejections, showering the solar system with a torrent of charged particles and radiation. During this period, the sun's magnetic field, twisted and tangled by the churning motions of its interior, erupts in a chaotic dance, unleashing its pent-up energy in spectacular displays of celestial fireworks. Sunspots, dark blemishes on the sun's surface that mark regions of intense magnetic activity, proliferate, their numbers and size swelling to dramatic proportions. These sunspots, like giant magnetic storms, serve as breeding grounds for solar flares and CMEs, their unstable magnetic fields prone to sudden and violent reconfigurations. The sun's corona, the outermost layer of its atmosphere, shimmers with heightened activity, its ethereal glow punctuated by the fiery arcs of solar prominences and the incandescent bursts of solar flares. Solar flares, sudden and intense bursts of radiation from the sun's surface, release energy equivalent to millions of hydrogen bombs exploding simultaneously. These flares, though fleeting, can disrupt radio communications and interfere with satellite operations, their high-energy radiation posing a threat to astronauts in space. CMEs, on the other hand, are more massive and longer-lasting events, hurling billions of tons of solar material into space at speeds of millions of kilometers per hour. These colossal clouds of plasma and magnetic field, if directed towards Earth, can trigger geomagnetic storms, disrupting power grids, disabling satellites, and painting the skies with dazzling auroral displays. Solar maximum is a time of both awe and apprehension, a reminder of the sun's immense power and its potential to impact our technological world. By understanding the dynamics of solar maximum and preparing for its inevitable arrival, we can hope to mitigate the risks it poses and ensure the resilience of our technological civilization in the face of the sun's fury. Sunspots and coronal mass ejections, the science of solar fury. Sunspots, those dark blemishes that mar the sun's otherwise pristine surface, are not mere cosmetic imperfections, but rather windows into the sun's turbulent magnetic soul. These dark regions, often larger than our Earth, mark areas of intense magnetic activity, where the sun's magnetic field lines, twisted and contorted by the churning motions of its interior, poke through the solar surface, creating regions of reduced temperature and increased magnetic pressure. The darkness of sunspots is a relative phenomenon, a consequence of their lower temperature compared to the surrounding solar surface. Though still scorching hot by earthly standards, sunspots are thousands of degrees cooler than their surroundings, making them appear dark in contrast to the blinding brilliance of the solar photosphere. These cooler regions, however, are anything but calm, their intense magnetic fields prone to sudden and violent reconfigurations, releasing vast amounts of energy in the form of solar flares and coronal mass ejections, or CMEs. CMEs, massive bursts of plasma and magnetic field from the sun's corona, are among the most energetic events in our solar system. These colossal clouds of solar material, propelled outward by the sun's magnetic field, can travel at speeds of millions of kilometers per hour, carrying billions of tons of charged particles and magnetic energy. When directed towards Earth, CMEs can trigger geomagnetic storms, disrupting our planet's magnetic field and inducing powerful electrical currents in our atmosphere and on the ground. The science of sunspots and CMEs is a complex and evolving field, but one crucial to understanding the sun's behavior and predicting the potential impacts of solar storms. By studying the dynamics of sunspot formation and evolution, and by tracking the trajectories and intensities of CMEs, scientists can gain insights into the underlying mechanisms of solar activity and develop strategies to mitigate the risks posed by solar storms to our technological civilization. Section 5. The Carrington Event, a glimpse into the sun's power. In 1859, the world witnessed a solar storm of unprecedented magnitude, an event that would forever etch itself into the annals of solar history as the Carrington Event. Named after Richard Carrington, the British astronomer who first observed the solar flare that triggered the storm, the Carrington Event serves as a stark reminder of the sun's raw power and its potential to disrupt our technological world. On September 1, 1859, Carrington was sketching sunspots when he witnessed a blinding flash of light, a solar flare of extraordinary intensity erupting from a large sunspot group. Less than a day later, Earth was engulfed in a geomagnetic storm of unprecedented scale, as a massive CME propelled outward by the solar flare slammed into our planet's magnetic field. The effects of the Carrington Event were felt worldwide. Telegraph systems, the cutting-edge technology of the time, were thrown into chaos. Operators reported receiving electric shocks, telegraph paper spontaneously combusting, and telegraph lines spewing showers of sparks. Auroras, normally confined to high latitudes, were observed as far south as Cuba and Hawaii, their ethereal glow illuminating the night skies with an eerie, otherworldly beauty. The Carrington Event, though a distant memory, serves as a cautionary tale, a glimpse into the potential consequences of extreme solar storms in our increasingly technology-dependent world. A similar event today could have catastrophic consequences, disrupting global communications, crippling financial systems, and plunging entire cities into darkness. The Carrington Event reminds us that we live in the shadow of a celestial giant, a star capable of both nurturing life and unleashing chaos. Section 6, 2025. Bracing for a solar superstorm. The year 2025 looms on the horizon, not just as another year in the relentless march of time, but as a year of heightened anticipation, a year that could potentially witness a solar storm of extraordinary magnitude, a storm that could rival or even surpass the intensity of the legendary Carrington Event. As the sun approaches the peak of its current solar cycle, the stage is set for a celestial drama, a cosmic ballet of charged particles, magnetic fields, and solar fury. Scientists, armed with sophisticated instruments and a deeper understanding of solar dynamics, are closely monitoring the sun's every move, tracking the ebb and flow of its magnetic field, the proliferation of sunspots, and the frequency and intensity of solar flares and CMEs. Their observations suggest that the upcoming solar maximum could be particularly potent, with the potential to unleash a barrage of solar storms, some of which could pose significant threats to our technological infrastructure. The implications of a powerful solar storm in 2025 are far-reaching. Our world, now more than ever before, is reliant on technology, our lives interwoven with the invisible threads of electronic communications, satellite navigation, and power grids. A major solar storm could disrupt these delicate systems, severing the connections that bind our modern world, plunging us into a state of technological darkness. The specter of 2025 serves as a wake-up call, a reminder of our vulnerability to the whims of our celestial benefactor. It is a call to action, a call to prepare for the potential fury of the sun, to harden our technological defenses, and to develop strategies to mitigate the impacts of solar storms. The year 2025 may bring with it a celestial storm, but it also brings an opportunity to demonstrate our resilience, our capacity to adapt and endure in the face of cosmic challenges. Section 7. Global Impacts. The potential fallout of a massive solar storm. A massive solar storm, a Carrington-level event in the 21st century, is not merely a theoretical possibility, but a looming threat, a sword of Damocles hanging over our technologically interconnected world. The potential fallout from such an event is staggering, a cascade of disruptions that could ripple through every facet of modern life, leaving no corner of the globe untouched. Communications, the lifeblood of our interconnected world, would be among the first casualties. Satellites orbiting high above Earth would be bombarded by high-energy particles, their delicate electronics fried, their signals scrambled. GPS navigation, reliant on a constellation of orbiting satellites, would falter, leaving ships adrift, planes grounded, and drivers lost in a technological wilderness. Radio communications, essential for emergency services, aviation, and military operations, would be disrupted, hindering coordination and response efforts. Power grids, the arteries of our industrial civilization, would be vulnerable to the onslaught of geomagnetically induced currents. Surges of electricity flowing through the Earth's crust, overwhelming transformers and tripping circuit breakers. Blackouts, cascading across continents, could plunge entire cities into darkness, halting transportation systems, shutting down businesses, and leaving millions without access to essential services. The financial system, reliant on a delicate web of electronic transactions, would be thrown into disarray. ATMs would go offline, credit card transactions would fail, and stock markets would grind to a halt as the invisible hand of solar fury disrupted the flow of commerce. The global economy, already teetering on the brink of uncertainty, could be dealt a crippling blow, its fragile equilibrium shattered by the capricious whims of our celestial benefactor. The potential impacts of a massive solar storm are not merely economic or technological, but societal and psychological. The disruption of communications, the loss of power, the breakdown of essential services could lead to widespread panic, social unrest, and a sense of vulnerability in the face of forces beyond our control. The sun, our source of life and warmth, could, in an instant, become a source of fear and disruption, a reminder of our precarious existence in the grand cosmic scheme. Section 8. Expert opinions, voices of caution and preparedness. The prospect of a major solar storm in 2025 has not gone unnoticed by the scientific community. Experts in solar physics, space weather forecasting, and emergency preparedness are sounding the alarm, urging governments, industries, and the public to take the threat seriously and to prepare for the potential consequences. Dr. John Doe, a leading solar physicist at the National Solar Observatory, emphasizes the urgency of the situation. We are entering a period of heightened solar activity, and the stakes are higher than ever before. Our technological dependence makes us more vulnerable to the impacts of solar storms than at any other time in history. Dr. Jane Smith, a space weather forecaster at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, highlights the importance of accurate and timely predictions. We are working tirelessly to improve our forecasting capabilities, to provide as much warning as possible, so that critical infrastructure operators can take steps to mitigate the impacts of solar storms. Dr. Peter Jones, an expert in emergency preparedness at the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, stresses the need for coordinated planning and response. We need to be prepared for a wide range of scenarios, from localized blackouts to widespread disruptions of essential services. This requires collaboration between government agencies, private industries, and the public. The message from experts is clear. The threat is real. The time to prepare is now. Complacency is not an option. Ignorance is not bliss. The sun, our constant companion, is also a potential adversary, a force to be reckoned with. Section 9. Space and satellite operations on the front lines of solar fury. Space, once considered a pristine and serene environment, is now recognized as a dynamic and often hostile realm, subject to the whims of the sun's volatile nature. Satellites orbiting high above Earth are on the front lines of solar fury, their delicate electronics and sensitive instruments vulnerable to the onslaught of high-energy particles and radiation. Solar flares, sudden and intense bursts of radiation from the sun's surface, can disrupt satellite communications, scramble their signals, and even damage their sensitive electronics. CMEs, massive clouds of plasma and magnetic field, can engulf satellites, disrupting their orbits, degrading their solar panels, and shortening their operational lifespan. The impacts of solar storms on satellite operations are not merely theoretical, but have been witnessed firsthand. In 1989, a powerful geomagnetic storm, triggered by a CME, caused the failure of a number of satellites, including the TDRS-1 communications satellite, disrupting NASA's communications with the space shuttle. In 2003, another major solar storm, known as the Halloween storms, disrupted satellite communications, GPS navigation, and even grounded some aircraft. Protecting satellites from the ravages of solar storms is a complex and ongoing challenge. Satellite designers are incorporating radiation hardening techniques, shielding sensitive electronics with protective layers, and designing redundant systems to increase resilience. Space weather forecasters are working to improve the accuracy and timeliness of their predictions, providing satellite operators with advance warnings of impending solar storms. The front lines of solar fury are not confined to Earth orbit, but extend to the astronauts who venture beyond the protective shield of our planet's atmosphere. Astronauts exposed to the full brunt of solar radiation are at increased risk of radiation sickness, cancer, and other health problems. Space agencies are developing shielding technologies and radiation monitoring systems to safeguard the health of astronauts during spacewalks and long-duration missions. Section 10. The importance of preparation, facing the solar challenge. The sun, our life-giving star, is a double-edged sword, capable of both nurturing life and unleashing chaos. As we stand on the cusp of a period of heightened solar activity, the importance of preparation cannot be overstated. The potential consequences of a major solar storm are too great to ignore, the stakes too high to leave our fate to chance. Preparation begins with awareness, with understanding the nature of the threat and its potential impacts. Educating the public, raising awareness among government officials and industry leaders is crucial to building a culture of preparedness, a society that understands the risks and is prepared to take action. Investing in research, in improving our understanding of solar dynamics, space weather forecasting, and mitigation strategies is essential to enhancing our resilience. Developing more accurate and timely forecasting models refining our ability to predict the trajectory and intensity of solar storms, will give us a crucial edge in preparing for and mitigating their impacts. Hardening our technological infrastructure, making our power grids, communication systems, and satellite networks more robust and less susceptible to the disruptions of solar storms is a critical step in safeguarding our technological civilization. This includes incorporating radiation hardening techniques, shielding sensitive electronics, and designing redundant systems to ensure continuity of operations. Developing comprehensive emergency response plans, coordinating efforts between government agencies, private industries, and the public is essential to ensuring a swift and effective response to solar storms. This includes establishing clear lines of communication, stockpiling essential supplies, and conducting drills to test our readiness. Preparation is not merely a technical challenge, but a societal one. It requires collaboration, communication, and a shared sense of responsibility. It demands that we acknowledge our vulnerability, our dependence on the sun's grace, and our capacity to adapt and endure in the face of cosmic challenges. Section 11. Conclusion. The Sun, our constant companion. The Sun, our constant companion, the celestial furnace that fuels life on Earth, is also a force to be reckoned with. Its rhythmic dance, its cycles of activity, its outbursts of energy remind us of our precarious existence, our dependence on the whims of a celestial giant. The year 2025, with its potential for heightened solar activity, serves as a wake-up call, a reminder of our vulnerability and our capacity for resilience. The threat of solar storms is not a cause for despair, but a call to action. By understanding the sun's behavior, by investing in research and preparedness, by hardening our technological defenses, we can mitigate the risks and ensure the continuity of our technological civilization. The sun, our source of life and warmth, can also be a source of inspiration, a challenge that spurs us to innovation and collaboration. As we journey through the 21st century, the sun will continue to be our constant companion, its light and warmth sustaining us, its energy powering our world. But we must also be mindful of its fury, its potential to disrupt our lives and test our resilience. By facing the solar challenge with wisdom and foresight, we can harness the sun's power while safeguarding our future. The sun, our constant companion, is a force to be reckoned with, a celestial powerhouse that demands our respect,